Hi there, and welcome to Unfiltered Solopreneur, the podcast where we share real, unvarnished stories of people who dared to break free from the corporate grind. I'm your host, Nikhil, and I'm passionate about helping solopreneurs like you turn their dreams into reality. Some people are just wired for entrepreneurship. Malu Parthasarathy is one of them. She taught herself to code and turned her first program into a business at the age of 13, selling it to her school. Now she's a supply chain expert helping businesses simplify complex systems. But what struck me most, Malu's success isn't just about technical skills, it's about adaptability, long term thinking, and fully owning who you are. A few key themes emerge from our conversation. Leverage over quick wins. As Malu emphasizes, forget about making money. Think about leverage because leverage compounds. The focus should be on building something sustainable that grows over time. Bridge multiple worlds. Malu describes it best as wearing one hat with no holes. Her ability to understand technology, speak the language of engineers, and translate complex concepts for business stakeholders shows how breaking down silos creates unique value. Let your authenticity be your differentiator. From incorporating her love for Taylor Swift into her professional brand to making supply chain concepts relatable through everyday Amazon shopping experiences, Malu demonstrates how being yourself can set you apart even in technical fields. The power of problem solving. Just like her first coding project solved a real study planning challenge, Malu continues to approach business through the lens of solving real problems. She looks around her environment, identifies needs, and finds ways to create practical solutions. Join us for this insightful conversation about transforming challenges into opportunities and building a business that's both technically sound and uniquely you. See you on the other side. Welcome to a new episode of Unfiltered Solopreneur. I'm Nikhil Vesh, your host, founder, and CEO of Boost Solo. My next guest is a self-taught coder who started coding at the age of 13. She is now a supply chain guru who transforms supply chains with tech wizardry, laser focus, and a dash of Swifty energy. Malu, welcome to the show.
Hey, Nikhil. Thank you so much for the very creative introduction. I'm happy to be here.
Well, it's from your resume, so I'm really happy to have you on the show. Now, I got to ask you, because I'm sure a lot of people sort of start the conversation this way, is you started coding at the age of 13, but not only that, you also you landed your first client at the age of 13. So there's got to be some story behind this entrepreneurial spark. So could you take us back to that moment and also tell me a little bit about how it taught you about real problems, solving real problems, and how it might have shaped your outlook? Or if that's too many questions, tell me. I'll cut it down.
No, well, thank you for the very good research you've done. I love it. I rarely get to share this story other than what it is on my LinkedIn. Well, I grew up with very much like, typical Indian parents that want their daughter to be great at school and, go to one of those universities. And I was like most of my classmates, I was really tired of just cramming for my exams, and then I would take days off, I would fall sick, and it was so difficult because it was groundhog day. And then I learned to write code in basic, which is beginners all purpose symbolic instruction code, that was on Microsoft. I know that all these it's dating me. So what I did was I said, okay, well, the input is the number of days I have until I have my the midterm, or for a particular subject. And I also had favorite subjects. Physics, math, English was my favorite. I didn't care for language. So I or geography. And so I thought, and then I could really, I don't have to study much for certain subjects like English, math, and physics. So I had to factor in my complexity, the complexity of the subject, and my interest in it. So I wanted some type of like an automated way so that I don't get into Groundhog Day. And then I also wanted to learn to write code in basic, using those if loops and for next loops and all that. So yeah, I wrote this code so it would give me start date when I need to start preparing, and then 2 days before the test and all that. So it would give me, it was those days where it was the line printer, and I would print it out and I would show it to my parents saying, well, here's what I plan to do. Whether I did it or not is the rest of the story. They weren't too much worried about that, but they were very surprised that I wrote code and computer could help me like that. And for me, it was like, well, I'm trying to automate something which is me solving a problem. And I'm sure if I'm doing this, then I can plan my days ahead. I can have more time for my social life at that age and all that. So I loved it. And then because I had a plan, I was organized and focused. I also factored in time for just things that I love, like TV and hanging out with my friends and all that. So it was my entire timetable, like that. So I loved it, and I would just brag. This is a marketing or selling part of me, I guess. So when my teacher said, "Hey, you're like very planned. Like what's going on? Like who are you going to any tutor, especially, or do you have a shortcut? Do you have question papers from last year?" I said, "No. I mean, I really love these subjects like English, math, and physics. So you can see I'm getting a lot of marks on those, and I'm not flunking out of chemistry or Tamil language." So they were like, well, "What's going on? What's the plan?" So I would just write it in a sheet and give it to them, like, because I couldn't afford a printer. They said, "Okay, I like this. I think most of the kids would they would benefit from this." And then I said, "Yeah, I wouldn't mind selling it to your school. Like it's like 10 rupees or something, and you should buy a floppy disk so I can copy the code." So yeah, that's where it started. And I really liked it. Okay, I didn't think they would pay me like 10 rupees and all that. So this was when I was sometime like in 8th grade or 9th grade when this happened. And it was, so the 12th grade is a lot more complex and you have more deadlines and more tests. So I started to, continuously improve my program, and I would factor in a lot of, mock tests and all that. So I did a version 2 and all that. So the second version I sold for 100 rupees, which is a lot of money. So I said, okay, well, this is so cool. And also it taught me that, uh, the problems, or why do people buy something, is because it helps them understand something they're afraid to do or they don't know much about, and they want some type of organization and clarity in their lives. So I understood the basics of how a software should be, and also the customer experience. So yeah, those are the things that taught me. And then obviously I fell in love with writing code, and it was so easy, and I didn't know why people were thinking of that as a career or going to college for that. But I knew I wanted to get more focused on just the computer science as my career, or not a career, but also the next step out of school. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that story. And I'm so glad you charged for it, because otherwise it would have been like exploitation or child labor, right? If the school just took it away unfairly.
But I
Yeah,
didn't I didn't come up with that idea right away, because I was giving it to my friends for free. And then
right.
you have those frenemies that you don't want to give your secrets away. But I think I would sell my soul for 10 rupees for that program, at least, not my soul. So then I said, okay, well, if I'm parting away with my own intellectual property, I better get 10 rupees, and I would go buy dairy milk and all that. So yeah, dairy milk chocolate, that is. So yes, that was my monetization business model at that time.
Yeah, we're pretty enterprising for a 13-year-old. I know 30-year-olds who struggle with monetizing their ideas, so I'm pretty impressed. And the other thing I love about it is also because they say the best solutions are born out of real problems, right? So you actually took a problem that you had in terms of making your life easier, and the way you described it. And I love that you built in time for like friends and watching movies and things like that. You sort of took the whole, all the angst and trials and tribulations of a 13-year-old and turned it into a solution. But yeah, and then you learned how to market it too. So I guess, and we'll get to that a little bit too, in terms of both your coding and your creativity. But so let me ask you: was anybody in your family into writing code, or where did that passion come from?
It was not like that. No, it's not genetic or anything. The idea was, I think it gave my parents a lot of brag-worthy moments. She was like, "Yeah, Malu, she wrote the code to do this. She's going to be in Microsoft very soon." At the time, Bill Gates was owning it, so it was more for them, and they would get off my back and nagging me to study, because now I stick a plan on my door. That's it. So it was not. So it was not. But yeah, education was something that was the only way that would open doors for financial stability, and also it meant success. So no, it's not genetic. No, it's just me. That's very crazy about it. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I was laughing earlier because I haven't heard anybody sort of spell out basic in a very long time. So what the words stand for. And it took me back to like school trauma where I was the opposite. I did not enjoy writing code and like learning about code. I was
Yeah.
running to geography and literature and
Oh,
history. So I was sort of at the other end of the spectrum. But
we all have our gifts.
yeah,
Basic was the gateway drug, if you will. But
yeah,
my one true love is the C programming language. It is so beautiful. You can write device drivers and the entire operating system. So my second version that I sold for 100 rupees was C. It was
see,
written using C, and it could work on both Windows and Unix. So I don't know why I needed to do two versions. I just told my principal that Unix has less bugs and you don't have to upgrade and so many things. I sold both the versions. My school didn't have any Unix devices. I mean Unix PCs at all. So they bought both versions. I don't know why, but yeah.
well, clearly you had marketing skills too, so and brand building skills. So now let me fast forward a little bit, few years later, and in 2023 you talked about taking a leap of faith, right, to start MAP supply chain transformations. So can you talk a little bit about what motivated this leap and what led you there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we covered about my school and where it started writing code. But what we have to bridge the gap is from that age and what I did after that. I became very much a retail therapy. I think patient, or I would say a believer in retail therapy. So I've always wanted to understand, well, why is it cheaper here, or why are certain some addresses cheaper this time, and how are they making profit? Like, how do they make a profit at a 50% discount as opposed to selling it at the full price? So I got very much interested in understanding the pricing and how things work generally.
Right.
So right out of college, I started to I focused on opportunities that helped me build enterprise resource planning, ERP systems, or order fulfillment, and things like that. So that gave me an exposure to understand, okay, so this is what it is. And because I already loved shopping, now this is the art and science of how things that are made somewhere end up in my closet. So, and I also, it also made me a very smart shopper because I would buy things according to the seasonality and demand. So there was all of that. So through the years, I started it as an engineer, and I was soon interested in delving more into how certain engineering decisions are made. So I pivoted to doing product management, which brought me to this mindset of design thinking and putting the customer first, and how to use feedback loops. But that wasn't enough though. Like, learning how to do it and how the supply chain works are two different things. So I in the last 5 years until 2023, I was focusing on heavy retail supply chain solutions, like building order fulfillment systems and warehouse automation. So many things that are like little workflows that we call as supply chain. So in 2023, when I was laid off from Amazon Whole Foods, I was going to take a break because layoffs are depressing no matter what, regardless of how financially secure you are. My plan was to go to Maui. I had everything booked, my vacation and my Airbnb was there. So I go there. I didn't have my laptop. I had my phone, and that's it. Like, I was just gonna do something about, it's- whatever my next step was. And that was the time when I started to get calls saying, "Hey, I see that you've designed inventory systems. Like, can you help us migrate from our spreadsheet based homegrown solution to this one?" And I was getting calls to advise, not actually as full-time job. And I asked, like, okay, well, what are you doing? Like, do you want me to like write code, or build a roadmap or strategy? It's like, no, we are optioning all these systems, but we don't know how to use it, and we want to know someone who's done all these things, a little bit of coding, product management, and has supply chain expertise. So it started out there. And I was, I mean, whenever people meaning people at work, my bosses and also their bosses, they always notice me, and when in meetings, and the way I would share documents. they would ask, well, why are you asking all these things? Like, why does sales and operation planning interest you? And are you trying to build your own company? I would just joke and rub it off, saying, well, no, saying, no, Elon Musk has my job, or Jeff Bezos has my job. So it was always like, you work for someone. That's how it was. So I said, no, I don't plan to do any of that. I mean, I just want to, do what I'm doing right now. But then these opportunities started to come, and then I realized, oh well, so people would actually pay money for this, so I can help them understand what a certain part of their supply chain is and offer advice. So that's when I said, well, I'm going to do more of it, and then see, if there is actually that product market fit. So, and yes, it did. Turns out there is a need for people that have technology, data, supply chain skills in that intersection. And yeah, that's how it started. And Map was one of the ways I could actually monetize and also invest in learning. So that's what I did in 2023.
Okay, and so it sounds like it's been quite an interesting journey. So I hope you took that vacation though. Like going back to that, you didn't cancel the vacation, right?
No, no, I was in my vacation, and I
Oh,
was
you were.
actually making money. Uh,
Oh, you were.
so yeah, well, first people just would. I didn't know the another part of, like, the consulting practice and the
Right.
fees and all that. I didn't know that. I thought it was for free, because I thought I won't be paid anything, and they offered to pay me as Amazon gift cards for $25. That's where it started. And then I said, well, I mean, then I did some research, and turns out, yeah, this is actually a good replacement for my full-time job. So yes, I took my vacation, and I mean, I was in my vacation. I only had my phone, and yeah, I was doing like 5 consultations every week. I was working less than 10 hours, and then it was good. I mean, I thought, okay, well, I should do that. Like, so yes, I did, and I didn't know I was really really good at this, because my customers, or my clients, kept coming back saying, well, yeah, we did inventory management, but I don't know how it works with my order fulfillment. Like, something's
Right.
broken here. Like, well, what is it? So it was more of the retention and multiplying the clients through just my network. So yeah, it was unexpected. So you know what they say, like, you get the best ideas when you're not trying to get best ideas, right? So I
True.
don't know, it's so anyway, I'm just very grateful, and definitely lucky that people found me through LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I also see a pattern there, right? Because you did, even in your first code, it was like 10 rupees, and then you went to 100. So from $25 gift cards, you found your consulting fee there too. So,
Yes.
uh, so let me ask you though, in terms of um, career pivots, right? You've made three pretty substantial pivots over the last, few years of your career. Now, can you tell me, in terms of those transitions, which one has taught you most about yourself?
Almost everything, I would see that as a very continuous improvement, right?
Yeah.
Is applying the Six Sigma principles here. um, being an engineer, having that a decade of experience, it gave me the confidence, saying, well, I can dissect any technology, I can understand it, I can learn things really fast, and I can write code, I can understand, and most importantly, speak the language of the engineering team. Because
Right.
there's always this big disconnect, saying, well, this is what product wants, and this is what the executives want, but the engineers speaking their own language, I understand why DevOps and those faster release time is important, and why investing in infrastructure is going to help. So that was that. And then product management taught me the valuable skills of, okay, what are customers actually thinking when they
Yeah.
use this product? Like, does having an agile or a Six Sigma, does any of this actually move the needle for them? And I understood, well, no, it's not. Like, a customer, a client, they're going to think, how is this going to help me? Am I making more money, or am I saving money? That's
Yeah.
it. So that was that. And then my third pivot as an entrepreneur or as an executive, it taught me to speak the universal language, which is, the universal language is the language of money. And to understand, okay, I'm investing $600 in this software, so how am I going to get that back or multiply it and things like that? So everything is a part of who I am today, and it's not done. I'm this executive, or being a supply chain executive, a fractional supply chain officer. is something that lets me allow or lets me use the technology, the product management skills, and actually people skills and sales applied to solving supply chain problems. So yeah, it's a very, what do you say, progressive growth from just being an individual to someone that can impact more than one part of the organization.
Yeah, but it also makes you very rare, right, in terms of skill set, because I don't know many people who sort of have, and it surprises me because those dots, the way you talk about it, should be connected, right, within any organization. I mean,
Yes.
if you're making something, then you should know who you're making it for and the problem you're solving, right? It almost feels like those two things are two halves of the same coin, so to speak. And yet, so few organizations train people that way or have people who can wear both those hats.
Yeah, I would say it's all one hat, and the holes is when you don't have that skill set.
Right.
So that's the thing, right? I mean, not you, like we are taught to choose, or well, you have to be an analytical person or a creative person. You have to do engineering or science. Actually, it's not. You cannot be successful until you have a little bit of all these things to be impactful. So that's the thing, we are taught, because and also when you're in school, be it masters or bachelors, you cannot learn everything, and it costs you time and money, and then you don't know if you're really that interested. Like you wouldn't spend 3 years learning just statistical modeling if you know that it's not. So it's a lot of things, but that's where I like to call myself an autodidact, where I'm learning some from textbook, and then I look for what's around me, and I see, okay, well, if I'm always googling cost benefit analysis, maybe that's something that I need to learn. And often the stress is that, well, the employer is supposed to train, but I mean, nobody knows what they even want. Like we think of like employers as someone that knows everything, but they're just like, parents or something. We don't know what we are doing. Like it takes a long time to understand, oh, that's how you raise a child, and we learn through mistakes. So yeah, it's not, I mean, I don't know if it's rare, but I'm trying to find my tribe of people that are looking for me, and people who are developing, or they have these skill sets. But it does increase my competitive advantage. So yes, I just couldn't answer just as an engineer or a product manager or a supply chain executive. So yeah, it helps become a part of my offering, I would say.
Well, and I would call it your brand, right? And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But it is amazing to me that I've worked with a lot of B2B clients, and it's amazing how many have bought these complex solutions but don't know how to use them, right? So, I mean, going back to what you were talking about, they've got these big, shiny, multi-million-dollar things, and A, they don't know how it works across the whole system, right, from the back to the front,
Yes.
and B, also a lot of people within departments are so siloed that the I think even the thought process is broken in sometimes, right? Going back to what you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, you are very smart to see, things like that, where we invest in something because of some external pressure, but we don't get much value because we don't. I mean, nobody knows to know everything. So yeah, and this is one of the thing where maybe artificial intelligence has its limits, because they are not trained to see multiple dimensions of using something or solving a problem. So yeah, it's good to be someone that brings that unique skill set to solving a problem.
Yeah, and being able to see both sides of the coin, I think that's really important, right? Because that's a skill. Even I've worked with a lot of brilliant engineers and stuff, but they struggle to see sort of the human side of it in terms of what they're building or the solutions they're building. And I think that's really important. But it's a hard thing to do because you're right. A lot of times in school, they put you in a lane, right? Like I was clearly sent down another lane, and I've recently been working on building like CRM workflows, and I'm really enjoying it. And that's not something I would have thought that I would have enjoyed doing, right? Because it's much more sort of less arts. And I love writing. I love that kind of stuff, creativity. But I had not exercised that part of my brain since my trauma with trying writing basic code that I mentioned in school. But maybe
It's
I'll revisit it. So
I
yeah,
think the authenticity is basically intelligence expressed in a creative way, right? I mean,
yeah.
like another person, I'm sure there are podcasters, but not many of them is going to do the same language and style as what you are doing. And yeah, everything happens for a reason that is pushing you towards learning or becoming better at something.
Yeah, so let's actually, that's a nice segue into your brand, right? We sort of touched on it a little bit. So I love that you mentioned that you're a Swiftie, right, in your professional headline. And clearly your brand blends technical expertise with creative flair. And it was evident it was there at 13 too, right? Your marketing skills and your brand building skills. So let me ask you, what's been the most unexpected challenge in building a personal brand now that you've been on this journey on your own, that in a way that gives you the ability to reflect both your technical expertise and your creative side? Because the category you're in is a very sort of dry, rational kind of space, right? In terms of how the way people present themselves. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, let me think. Something that is an unexpected challenge that lets me apply my strengths. Okay. Well, I don't, I'm not talking about like challenge in building my brand.
Hmm.
One of the things is basically focus. I was on a payroll for almost 20 years, and then now I'm an entrepreneur working for myself. I'm doing everything. Like I have a content creating time. I have a learning time. I have do nothing, just think that time also. So the challenge has been focus. I thought I was good at that because I never would miss a deadline. I even product releases were on time. But now focus and also being productive. So it's a constant challenge being with myself, because when you I mean, or building accountability is difficult when no one is watching, but that's what is called accountability, integrity, and all that. So what I learned to do is, or that is the thing that I've learned the best, because yeah, I cannot sit back saying, well, yeah, I can do it really fast, because when I was a full-time employee, it'll only take me 2 sprints to complete this. But then now it's becoming more like a reckoning, where I'm saying, like, I think I wasted a lot of time, because we are pulled into a lot of meetings and so many team building stuff, and like the meetings or anything that where you are doing something, but you're not talking about doing it, you're not actually doing anything. So an unexpected challenge was to actually become a lot more focused, saying, well, yeah, I want to do all these things, but I want to focus on learning this or becoming better at this. So focus has been, it's not a challenge, but it's also my strength. So I would say that. And I think that's probably where I'm also learning to develop the consistency. So the challenge has been to create my brand, because the clients I work with, I know them, they know me, and all those things, they know how to contact me. But because of the confidential nature of the work, I cannot put any X, like X, this one and all those are the brands we all use on an everyday basis. Like, you don't need any introduction at all. But because of the confidential nature, the only way people will know I am this is when I create content, or when I give some important, very useful artifacts for free on LinkedIn. So basically creating useful resources. That's what I would say. That's been my challenge. And I'm better, or I used to, the thing is, um, I would always say, well, there are people better than me, but what if people think that I'm too novice at this, and they don't see me as a supply chain guru, let alone be an expert. All those things are where the challenges that I had to overcome, like doing a lot of things. So now I'm at a place where I am working with people that are helping me become more focused. So I would say focus, it's a battle, and you can win it, but you win it like one day at a time or 1 hour at a time. So something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean that's true. I mean, as a solopreneur, it is hard, right? Because you also have to wear many different hats. That's just a reality because you're running the business. You have to do content marketing. You have to build your brand. You have to get clients. You have to manage clients. You have to do the billing, the invoicing. I mean, it's sort of endless, right? So I totally get that, and I think that's just sort of a challenge we all have to sort of go through and sort of figure our way out on. But it is important because you can end up going down rabbit holes, and one of the ways I think about it is this skill set that I'm going to want to learn, or is this work that I'm doing going to move the needle on my business, right, or not, my bottom line or not? And I'm now getting better at that, and I've been doing this for quite a few years now. So So let me ask you, do you leverage storytelling or analogies when you talk about technical concepts, and just to make them more accessible and engaging to your audience? Or how do you leverage storytelling, I should say?
Well, yeah. So far, I haven't created anything that is consistent on LinkedIn, but yeah, one of the things that I really love and my clients love it is how I can speak their language and simplify and provide analogies or even see far analogies even within their business. So yes, absolutely, storytelling is not a fictional part of it. It's to actually ease into a complex concept or anything complex, by starting from the basics. And so I leverage it when I'm looking from I would say an advisor. So my clients would come up with the thing saying, "Hey, we started, offering grocery delivery, but we thought we would be the next Amazon or the next Walmart, but it's actually a loss. It's a really bad model and all that." So I would look at numbers and a lot of things, but then when I'm sharing this information, which is not usually good news, it's not to be a yes man or a yes woman, if you want to be politically correct. It's not at all that. So I come in where I can say, well, listen, you guys do this wrong and here's how it is. And because I'm good at data and I can also explain technology, but I also understand their sentiment, because the bottom line of any argument is that we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to go back and say, remember the decision I made, that was awful, and I should have changed it as soon as I knew we were not going in the right direction. So people are not okay with saying, yeah, I should change it, or it's all a change management problem. So I use storytelling when I'm painting, or the possibilities of a certain type of model or something. um, and it is interesting because I use data to say, that's very captivating. And when I'm speaking with executives that are heavy on leadership and strategy, I use mental models, or my favorite topic uh, being like historical events, to say, oh yeah, remember during that Second World War, or this that happened, like this is a similar situation or something like that. And my most frequent example is COVID. So yes, storytelling is storytelling, but most importantly, speaking the language of your audience is it's going to you'll definitely be memorable. Like we all want that, right? Yes, I may not be able to give you business like today, but if I remember you, then I don't think you need to. I mean, you don't need to do anything. When there is a newer situation or someone else has it, I'm going to say, well, Nikhil's great at this. Why don't you go and talk to him? So that's how storytelling is very powerful.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And actually, you just brought up one of the biggest, most important tenets of brand building is like speak your audience's language, right? Don't speak at them, don't speak like above them, don't speak below them. Speak at them, and this is not dumbing things down, like you said.
Yeah.
It's just putting in the right context and helping explain concepts in a way that's relevant to their situation and their business and their problem, right? So I think that's really powerful. So let me ask you just in a fun way, like, so what's been the most creative way you've explained a complex technical solution to a non-technical audience? You have an example?
Yeah, I do. Someone asked me to explain, hey, what is supply chain? And is everything supply chain that we do, or is supply chain like a specific thing? Is it only logistics? This is something that I even when people ask me what you do, I would say, I mean, even for me to say I'm a supply chain executive, they would ask what. And people associate supply chain to manufacturing, like it's pretty like physically doing that, like manufacturing. So what I've used, uh, so where I've used in a creative way is I'll say, hey, next time when you're placing an Amazon order, or even you say, one of your smart speakers saying, hey, add legal pads to my shopping cart.
Yep.
What happens in the end, or what happens in the back end from the time your credit card is charged, or from the time you click place order, and the clock starts running at that time, or the clock starts at that time where someone close to your address is in a distribution or a fulfillment center that is putting these things to a box, and if they have to come from 2 or 3 different distribution centers, so your package will arrive in multiple shipments, which you already know, because when you place the order, you did select, this time window, I want it tomorrow, I want it today. So you did all that. So based on that, they'll say, oh yeah, she can wait for 2 days. Okay, so I'm going to send it from something that is 15 miles from this delivery location. So supply chain is what happens in all these things, and all these little processes from picking, and then picking a certain order from a certain location. And let's say it is a legal pad we are talking about. So it has to update the inventory saying, well, I sold a dozen legal pads to Malu on December 19th. So it's going to update that. And then let's say that, let's say in this example, if you're shopping at Amazon, you're shopping there because that's probably the best price and at the best delivery time frame you're comfortable with.
Right.
So that's where the pricing systems come in, where a retailer, you don't want to sell something cheaper because it questions the authenticity and you might be hurting your profit margins, and you don't want it to be too expensive. So again, you have too much inventory. So that's where the pricing systems come in. So I've now explained what distribution, shipping, pricing, inventory, all of that. So I use depending on who I'm talking to, I say this, but that's probably the thing that I end up almost like talking about. The people would start as a small talk, and they really understand, oh, so that's what supply chain is. So yeah, it's interesting to be able to say that. And when I was trying to explain, hey, I'm a supply chain executive, to my parents, they thought I was a mystery shopper. I don't know where they got it from. But I'm sure if I say, well, I create the shopping experiences, I'm sure you're not going to think that way. It's a different thing. So it was difficult helping my parents understand, okay, this is who I am, and I'm not just working in a retail store. I'm not actually shopping either, but this is the thing I do. So it's yeah. So that's one creative way I've explained it.
But you're helping ensure that everything your mother and your father buy is available when they want it and
Yes.
where they want it, right?
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, you're right though, but it is fundamental to every business, right? To me, it's almost like the blood through the arteries of a business, right? Because if the supply chain is not working, the heart gets clogged up, the brain gets clogged up, in terms of, if you use that as an analogy for a company. It is fascinating, but people don't want to think about that kind of stuff. They just want to click the button and they want it there at their door. I call it the instant generation, right? We've created a lot of bad habits, I think, from how
Yeah,
easy we've made
it's the
things.
Amazon effect. Yeah, it is the
Yeah.
Amazon effect. Yeah, that's what my frustration, or my I guess the magic wand scenario will be where it should be as seamless to fulfill an order as it is to place an order. We've come so far in terms of like payments and looking at a QR code, and then you place the order. It's become so far. So basically the downstream of which is closer to customer, they've all improved. But so just
Back
being
end.
a supply chain expert, what happens? The upstream processes, they are still outdated. Most of them, they don't even use Google Sheets. Google Sheets is not the advanced solution, or spreadsheet is not the advanced solution. They are still using a physical paper, pen, ledger type to do all this.
Wow.
So that's why I have a career, and even my own company, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, and based on some recent ordering experiences, I can tell you're going to have a long career, because I've been surprised at some of the companies and what they have not been able to do, or how the
Yeah.
the upstream part you're talking about.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, had some
But
experiences.
it is one of the contentious areas where they're like, well, we do have an inventory system, it works really well, but you need to be doing all these things, and I'm not going to invest in that vendor that's like the best in the inventory management system. So most of my work is basically speaking, okay, well, look at it this way and you'd be able to fulfill more orders. And but so that's also the part of like storytelling, because yeah, I mean, from where it is, these are like millions of dollars of investment upfront. So So I see why it is, but it's not like we have a choice. Thanks to black swan events like COVID, where everyone's rethinking, okay, is this how I want to be doing order fulfillment? Am I pricing it too high and all those things? So really good. This phase we are in, it hasn't happened yet, but it's called like the industry 4.0 and 5.0, where we are looking supply chain from a data, and also using artificial intelligence and internet of things to provide basically supply chain transparency. So
Right.
I'm glad it's here. Here meaning for North America, we are a little bit behind. Europe is way ahead in the curve. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think COVID was sort of a supply chain awakening event, right? Even mom and pop stores suddenly realized firstly, what the word meant, and
Yes.
then what it entails, to your point earlier. Um, so let me ask you now, in terms of, so one of the things you mentioned, which resonate with me too, is like you say you miss working with teams, right? As much as you're enjoying this journey. So what advice would you give to other solopreneurs who also sort of thrive working in collaborative environments, but they need to find ways to connect and collaborate while they're working independently while we're on this journey?
Yeah, I don't have any such things. Like I haven't found out yet. But well, other than when I'm expanding my company, I don't know when that would be. There's that. But there are also communities. If I mean, depending on someone, like if they are looking to for a brainstorming session, or there's also like a group podcast or something like that where you can meet people virtually. There are avenues like that, but nothing beats the team environment of actually working with multiple functional teams and all that. So I miss that. And yeah, that's something I really miss, the team building events, the team lunches. I don't know. And well, for me, I don't have any other interesting thing. Like I cannot speak about baseball or football, so my only thing is supply chain. And so it's not easy to find people that are in, I guess that share the same interest. But yeah, I guess there are meetups and things like that, but it's not easy. One thing that I've been doing is working with universities, and entrepreneurship networks in my city. So I'm actually speaking to a lot more people. It is still a team, but I won't be there for a longer term. So yeah, those are some of the ways. Yeah, that's it.
Well, now you can be part of Boost Solo too. I'm building a community, so you've got a new community you can be part of. And the other thing I just realized is you have 175 million people with Swifties, right? And so there's a
I
pretty
don't
big
know.
community.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Swifty is one thing. Well, she's a great entrepreneur. Taylor Swift is a great entrepreneur, very
Seriously.
smart businesswoman. Like I don't know, and creative too. And she's also switched genres from country to pop to
Right?
rap. So many things. But I don't think they. I mean, I don't know if Swifties are around there. But yeah, that's why it's on my LinkedIn profile saying, "Hey, even if it's not supply chain, I'm still a Swifty," and that means yeah, I mean, you know what I bring to the table. But yeah, it's there. That's not the only thing, but it's hard to find find your tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to go back to pre-COVID days where there would be meetups and those networking events. I really miss those. Yeah, but speaking about Boost Solo community, um, the thing that I've learned from being a part of a community is they just die in Slack groups. That's it.
Yeah.
They don't go beyond that. It's just comment, like posting something or just asking for something without actually feeling that, oh yes, I know this person. Like yes, we haven't met, but I know who that person is. So it lacks that type of a personal, I guess, personal relationship factor there.
I agree, and that's a challenge I need to overcome because I don't want. I agree. I don't like Slack. It
Mhm.
just
Yeah, thank you.
for
I
that
don't like.
reason. Yeah, for my brain, it's not it doesn't feel like a community, right? It
Yeah.
feels more like a message board where you go in and sort of a cold transactional. and there's value in it for certain things, but it's not community building. I don't get that from Slack. It's
Yeah.
efficiency, maybe, is the word you'd look for, and that's not community. So no, yeah, I intentionally want to do it differently with Boost Solo. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is the challenge, though. So that I need to work on next year, but that's for 2025. We'll deal
Yes,
with
so
that
which is
next year.
another like what, 10, 15, 10, 12 days away. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think you can build an empire in 10, 12 days.
Yes. It's true.
Especially now with my assistants, right? GPT, Claude, and Gemini. There's lots more I can do than I could do a little
Yes.
while ago.
Yep. That's
So
true.
let me ask you. So, as someone who's transformed massive systems for major retailers, what's been your biggest aha moment about transforming your own business?
Well, first, when I started MAP, I called it MAP Product Management and Leadership, and I wanted to provide just this type of organizational coaching, and for product managers or someone that is looking to set up a product organization. That's what I wanted to do, and I was, this is not even too long ago, in 2023 of April. That's what my company name was. So the aha moment came when I realized that I need to narrow down my offerings into what I really love the most and can do it effortlessly, because it is like doing or I don't know, doing something that I really love. So it comes to me effortlessly, and it is something that people actually will pay money because it helps solve a problem, and I'm actually happy doing it. So my aha moment came when I started out doing like offering only product management training, coaching, and all that. I also had my supply chain transformation advisory thing. So I wanted to offer, all the things under the sun when it was across these two areas. And then I realized that, when I was doing my coaching, I wasn't, so I would coach a team or a single, like an executive person. But for me to feel happy that I made a change would mean that that person actually took my advice and direction and applied it to their life. I found out that is something that's not going to happen. We are not motivated, or we don't have anything. We'll do it when we are driven by necessity and all that. So it wasn't making, so the if you can imagine the Venn diagram of what makes me happy, what people pay money for, and what I do effortlessly. So it, I didn't really love being like just getting paid for a session and not actually making an impact that the person can see. So the aha moment came saying like, well, just because I can do it effortlessly and I'm actually influential and good at it, if I don't enjoy it, it's okay to let it go. So then I said, okay, well, I'm gonna stop, I guess, my coaching offering, and then focus only on supply chain transformations. And it's been great, because you cannot be a successful executive or a supply chain executive if you don't know how to influence people. So I'm already building that when I'm speaking to them. Usually my first thing would be to do a SWOT analysis, a cost benefit analysis, and offer, okay, well, here are like 3 different ways you can solve this. The next question is going to be, well, then can you meet with this group? Like, it could be their finance, it could be their technology, saying, yeah, they have some reservations and we do want you to be a part of that discussion as well. So I'm still influencing people to change, and I can also see that happening. So my aha moment came when I centered my business offerings based on the Venn diagram of ikigai. It's a,
Ikigai. Yeah.
yeah, ikigai. Okay, you know that. But yeah, that's a Japanese term for purpose. You can't
Yeah.
just do charity. You can't just make money. It has to be a bit of both, and you should love it.
Yeah, no, that's great, and that's also great advice for solopreneurs. And I agree with you, because it's like, there's only so much. If you There's accountability is the piece that you're talking about, right? Like, how do you ensure that the whatever advice you've given, whatever help you've afforded somebody, that they actually are implemented, and you see the sort of results of that, right? Okay, so if we were to meet 5 years from now, what would success look like for you, both personally and professionally?
Well, professionally, I would have created leverage as the supply chain guru. That's my screen name,
Right.
where I'm creating content on LinkedIn right now. So I want to produce as many realistic uh, examples and content based on just my experience. So it's going to be something that, let's say, a lot more about supply chain than most people. So, but if someone is just curious to it, I want them to go back and say, oh yeah, that's I'm going to follow the supply chain guru because she writes something interesting, and you don't need a lot of language like knowledge on that. Kind of like the Khan Academy, Khan
Yeah,
Academy.
I know Khan. Yeah.
That's the example. That's what I'm thinking of. You can start as wherever you are, you'll be able to understand. So that's what I want to do, and definitely make the supply chain that makes our life go around a lot more efficient, transparent, and sustainable. So the uh, retail organizations are heavily focused on just the customer part of it, where can I send it within 2 days or 2 hours? Like, am I losing business because of just my delivery window? It's been that. But I want to make an impact so they can see the entire workflow, saying, well, from source to sold, these are all the changes we can make. So creating that awareness and being able to do it with my authenticity, I would have done that. And definitely I'm like, this is not well, I am looking for a full-time job, so that means I would be back in a team where I want to make it sure, make it possible for everyone to be their authentic self and also have a career which they love, the ikigai Venn diagram we are talking about.
Yeah.
So that is something, those are the three things. And personally, I think I don't know if I'm a different person than a supply chain executive. So those are the things. Everybody would say, I want to lose this weight and all that. So I don't have anything personally, but yeah, I think uh, being this influential supply chain executive will will be my identity. So that's what it is, or
That's good.
being the supply chain guru.
Yeah, well, I look forward to you making supply chain scintillating because it's not a topic that most people think is, but I think it is interesting, and I think you can make it interesting because you, as I said, as we discussed, you sort of can see both sides of the on both sides of the fence or both sides of the coin, right? So I think that's the key to making it more interesting. Um, and my challenge, of course, is to build a community that doesn't die on Slack, right? And I've got that in
Yes,
my head as my challenge
but
for next year. So
yeah.
yeah,
So I mean, yeah, it would be a really great, interesting topic when you come back at the 5 hour, no, 5 year mark, and do a round robin of all the people you've been interviewing. That's people, how they post like every year on Halloween, mother daughter thing. This would be something like that. That's a great idea for podcast.
yeah, you've given me my season 5 idea. So maybe we'll
Oh
do it a few years earlier. We'll see.
yeah.
So let me ask you if you could offer one piece of advice to someone who wants to start their solopreneur journey. What would you say to them?
Well, forget about making money. Think about leverage, because leverage compounds. Leverage is the only thing that's going to remain even after you have a company or not. So, and then you do it with authenticity. Don't do it because A, B, C is doing it, or don't do it. And it's not. I mean, we love numbers. We love to compare. So it's not a numbers game. Like, there's only one version of you. So authenticity, consistency, that pays off.
Yeah, that's great advice. And don't try to be anybody else, right? Because you can't. So is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners and our audience that we haven't covered, Malu?
Yeah. Don't look for career advice, or the next step, or anything from your employer or your teachers or parents, because not everyone knows about your strengths or what you're curious about. Only you know it. So what ultimately helps is the courage to pursue your curiosity. I'm just paraphrasing Steve Jobs. So please remember that it's, you won't know if it's right or wrong until you go far with it. So there's that. And then I was on a H-1B visa, and the scarcity mindset is always dominant. I mean, I understand. I'm sure whoever gave us that advice, they didn't want us to be homeless, right? So it's like, well, if you're a software engineer on a H-1B, you just cannot do it. It's illegal to move to DevOps or anything. Actually, it's quite not that. I've switched careers when I was when I was on a visa and all that. So there's no limits. So that's why it said you need to pursue something to know what's actually out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's also great advice, right? Don't ask, do, because then you can. That's the way to figure out what you're good at, what you're bad at, how you navigate things. I completely agree. Well, that's a great way to take us to our rapid fire round. So I'm just going to throw a couple of questions, 5 questions at you. Just tell us whatever comes to your mind. So, what's the most unconventional place you found inspiration for a supply chain solution?
Um. Yeah. Unconventional place. Well, I do a lot of thinking when I'm in a steam sauna, so
Okay.
that. But I don't know if we can post a video with that as a place. Um, that's that, and then unconventional place. Well, when I'm driving.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I see, or when I go to smaller stores, like more convenience stores type of thing, I would ask them, well, what do you do with outdated food and beverage? Like, how do you do this? And or I so they would say something, and it would. I'm always making small talk only about the business and supply chain of things. But yeah, I mean, when I'm driving, I get a lot of my ideas. I also get ideas from seeing the news and the geopolitical events. So there's no where, but also like the events. Like suddenly people are very much they triggered about tariffs, like how to plan and price and all that. But tariffs have already always been there. So yeah, the news would be a good place, I would say.
Okay, and I just want to make sure you haven't been banned from any of your mom and pop local stores, have you?
No, 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 not
Happens with their bad food. Okay, good.
no, no. I don't. I'm mostly like I just notice stuff and I ask them. Yeah.
That's good. What's one non-business skill you wish you could master instantly?
Um, Non-business kill to not kill plants. So
Okay.
it's like green thumb, they say.
Green thumb, you're right. Instead of, I
Yeah,
forget what the other one is, brown thumb or black thumb. I don't know.
I
Maybe
don't
we
know.
have
Yeah,
brown
to
thumbs, but yeah.
be yeah to be really good at gardening. Yeah.
Okay. If you could collaborate with any tech innovator, past or present, who would it be and why?
That would be. I really love Naval Ravikant.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
very much a good mix of business, tech, and spiritual and everything. So yeah, that would be great.
Okay, cool. And so I have to ask this one. Favorite Taylor Swift lyric that describes your entrepreneurial journey?
Look what you made me do.
Oh, I love that. Okay. The tech buzzword that makes you cringe the most.
uh, it's AI is going to take your job, or
That's great.
it's,
And so just to be clear, you're confirming it's not, right? Just so our listeners get that. Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah. So
I
AI is
agree
going
with you.
to, but hire me, you'll get a new job in 2 days.
Yes, hire Malu if you're listening to this podcast.
No, I mean that's a part of the cringe, like
Oh,
the interview coach and all those. That's how they say. Well, AI is going to take your job, but if you hire me as your coach, you'll get a job in 2 days, and you'll die there.
well, I was telling people to hire you anyway, but
Yes,
okay.
hire me for supply chain related transformations. Yes.
Well, thank you, Malu. It's been fantastic having you on the show, and I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much for the opportunity and a very engaging discussion, Nikhil. I'm not sure if you advertise much about Boost Solo, but what you're doing it does matter. It's very authentic to speak to you, and you actually put the unfiltered in the title, so it's both fun and also I'm very much looking forward to the community you create, because if you bring all of this there, then I think it'll soon be like the angel list meets I don't know, angel list. I don't. I'm just giving a lot of publicity for Nawal's products, but yeah, it's something like that. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and that's my goal. But yeah, I'll definitely we'll be in touch next year when I launch this community. That wraps up another episode of Unfiltered Solopreneur. I would love to hear your thoughts about today's conversation. Let's continue the discussion in the comments below or on LinkedIn at Boost Solo. If you're looking to connect with like-minded solopreneurs and take your business to the next level, join our Boost Solo community. And if you're ready to turn your expertise into a story that sells, book a free strategy session at boostsolo.com. Remember, your story is your most valuable asset. Live solo or die corporate.